Hey pals, it's Chris, and I wanted to talk to you about why I started a Patreon and how supporting my Patreon is going to make your life way better. So, I have been creating lots of stuff over the last 30 years. I've been an actor, I've been writing comedy, I've been performing stand-up, been doing improv, making videos, writing TV pilots, writing stuff for McSweeney's, all kinds of different stuff. And along the way, I had a whole bunch of podcasts as well, all of which I really enjoyed and really had fun doing. And the biggest challenge I've had over my whole life has been that I'm essentially a generalist. I love doing a lot of different kinds of things. I know that in our current world that I could have been more specifically successful if I niched myself down to, hey, I'm the guy that makes a podcast about iPads. Funny story, when the iPad originally came out, I started a podcast called Me, Myself, and iPad. And it instantly had like 15,000 downloads the first month of the iPad's launch. Because I had an iPad and it was just me talking about it. And it just sort of, I mean, I think back then it wasn't as clear how to monetize an iPad or like a podcast, right? So that may have been a thing. But also it was like, oh, I don't know that I'm just not interested enough in only talking about iPads. So that podcast ended up fizzling out. And in the meantime, I've started all sorts of other podcasts that have had, around 50 listeners at once. So they've been huge hits. And so that's the thing I've struggled with, is that in a way, the niche that I am is the niche of Chris Grace, meaning inclusive of everything that I do, which I think is a lot of good stuff. And I would love to have you be a part of it. And so instead of creating, for example, a Patreon and podcast just for the game Blood on the Clocktower that I love to play, instead of just doing one about like follow my stand-up or just do my interviews with my friends and colleagues who are artists and creators, I'm just making one Patreon, patreon.com/Chris Grace Comedy, and I'm putting the bulk of my creative output into this Patreon. And so yeah, this is my attempt to smooth out the ups and downs of show business by having a core of supporters that I can reach consistently with the stuff that I make. And that's it. I'm actually not really in the mood to chase algorithms these days. I think it's been really destructive to creators in general to chase these algorithms that they don't know anything about and that seemingly change every 3 months or so. So I've had lots of friends who have built up pretty sustainable livings in Instagram or TikTok or YouTube, and then all of a sudden 75% of their advertising disappears or their page views goes way down all of a sudden because something was tweaked in the algorithm. And I don't want to do that. I want to have an algorithm that's like, hey, the algorithm is I want to follow Chris Grace's stuff. I'm going to support it by joining the Patreon, and in response, I'm going to get stuff from Chris Grace. Yeah, that's it. So the kind of stuff we're going to have on this Patreon will be early access and unedited access to some of the interviews that I do, which will probably go under the umbrella of the Chris Grace Show, but some of them are going to the side YouTube channel I have called Noobs on the Clocktower. That's where I stream all of my Blood on the Clocktower gameplay. I don't really want to monetize huge parts of that stream because it's a hobby of mine. I don't want it to be like my business. But I am interviewing people in that world that are super interesting, that I think are interesting even if you don't play the game. What else? Essays, vlogs, video sketches, radio dramas, podcasts of other kinds, and specifically, all of my actual opinions about things are now going to go behind a paywall. So, because if I go see a play on Broadway, the general public doesn't need to know what I think of it or, who in the cast I thought wasn't good. They were all great. But if you join the Patreon at the first paid level, you get access to the Discord, where I have a channel in the first tier section of the Discord that's called Actual Opinions. And that's where you can chat with me about actual stuff. So yeah, I'm going to be making stuff. I'm going to be making reaction videos. If you join a higher tier, you can vote on the kind of content you want to see me make. You could suggest songs, music videos, or movies or TV shows for me to react to. You could even submit your own projects if you want. And that sort of leads me to the other part of it, which is I think I'm trying to create a Patreon that I myself would want to join. And so part of it is, yes, I want to consume stuff that Chris Grace makes, right? But I also want to have it make some value in my own life. So besides the great discussions we're going to have on the Discord, I also wanted to create a space that if you want to, for example, play Blood on the Clocktower with me, or join in on the monthly board meeting, which is going to be a Zoom meeting where I just go on Zoom with everybody that's at the tier and we talk about what's going on, projects that we're working on, whatever. Another thing I really want to do is the Chris Grace Book Club. I had a book club during the pandemic that was great. And I took a suggestion from a website somewhere that said, hey, for your book club, don't meet once a month. You should meet every week, so that you're reading a book over the course of a month and you meet 4 times to talk about that book. And what it does is it actually creates this running dialogue of this community that you're talking about the book with. And it prevents you from procrastinating and reading the entire book the night before the monthly book club meeting. It was super fun, and I want to do it again. It does require some work on my part, and so I thought it was fair to put it behind a higher tier. And also because, like, you know, there's also like physical limitations on how many people in a Zoom can be talking about a book, right? But that's one thing I want to do. Another thing I really want to do is co-working sessions. So I've done this a couple times. It's sort of popular in the tech world, but I think it'd be popular or productive for everybody, which is we're going to hop on a Zoom, we'll introduce ourselves, talk about what we're going to work on, and then we turn off our microphones, keep the cameras on, and then we're going to work for 45 minutes, take a little 5-minute break, another 45 minutes, we'll do some sprints. And this is a great way that, like, I think that I can provide some value to you being part of the Patreon, but also the Patreon can be great for me. I'm doing weekly updates on video about what's going on in my life, what projects I'm working on. I'm being very candid in them. And that's really helpful to me to, like, have a sense of an audience that I have some responsibilities to on a consistent basis to create something for. And that has produced a lot of really good results in my life in general. I think one thing that happened to me was I put up a TikTok video that was like 7 seconds long, and it was a Fallout meme video. I put no thought into it whatsoever. And right now, I think it has 8 million views or something. And it's like, it fit an algorithm. It fit, I think they were pushing Fallout at the time because it had just been released on Amazon. But it just made me think, like, oh, like, I could put a lot of work into this stuff, or I could just, you know, like chasing an algorithm, I could put a lot of work into it, but some of it is also just this other thing outside of myself where I can have 120,000 followers on TikTok. But if I want to announce a stand-up show, maybe 1,000 of them see it, like less than 1% of them see it. So I want to move myself into a space where I'm creating stuff for 10, 50, 100, 1,000 people that really want to hear from me and that I can reach consistently. I'd rather build stuff for them than trying to shoot my shot to 120,000 to 1 million people that are relatively indifferent to my existence. So that's what this Patreon's about. I hope you'll join me. I think it's going to be really fun. And if you like this idea, go to patreon.com/Chris Grace Comedy. Or maybe you're on the page already. Just click and start going into one of the tiers. Oh, by the way, the highest tier is called The Suits. And The Suits get to have a phone call with me once a month, or a Zoom, to talk about whatever projects you have going on. So basically, I created a solo show that went to Edinburgh Fringe and sold out, and now it's going to be at the Kennedy Center next year. So, like, I'm pretty good at, like, putting creative projects together. So if you want to talk to me about your thing, use me as a consultant. That's $88 a month. That's actually fairly cheap to hire a consultant for an hour or whatever it is. But hey, If you want to just come for $4 and join the Discord, that's great too. I love it. So yeah, please join me, and I look forward to seeing you on the Patreon and on the Discord. And thank you so much for considering it at all, even if you've watched it to this point. I really appreciate your time, and I'll talk to you later.